Yeah, this is going to be a really good show today. All the breaking news since we were on last week. All the things on Obama, all the things on James Comey, all the things on John Brennan, all the things on Hillary Clinton. This is just breaking wide open. God's been saying this for how many years? We were talking about how Obama was going to go down. He was going to be orchestrated. He orchestrated the 2016 election, which we are now finding out that is 100% true. God's also been prophesying about the Russian collusion hoax, how that was all going to come out and be exposed. And this is something that's happening right before our very eyes. And I know a lot of people are asking this question. We're hearing all these things, but are there arrests going to be made? Well, that's another thing that God has prophesied. Arrests are going to be made. Treason will be a lot of their ends. And again, he keeps talking about tribunals. So when you commit treason, there's tribunals. So they're not going to stay where they are. And this is a really fantastic week to talk about news.
Oh, it's absolutely a bombshell. And I don't know if it's public, so I'm not going to say it yet. But there is a major press conference coming out, I think, tomorrow. Have we followed up on that press conference yet? We need to know when that press conference is privately. Creed, track that down for me. It's going to either be Thursday or Friday. It's major coming out of Washington, D.C. We're actually going to have our team on the ground for that. And I don't think it's become public. But we go back to Friday, as you're saying, Tulsi Gabbard dropped the bombshell about Barack Obama and the proof showing that he was the head of the snake in the treason and Comey and Brennan. Yesterday, President Trump with the president of the Philippines, with gold around him, by the way, and a comm. And this comm, I'm told, means it's coming. So his comm was that it's coming. He went and said that Barack Obama committed treason. The president of the United States accused Barack Obama yesterday. So what's Barack Obama do? If that weren't true, you would say, okay, well, I'll sue him. That's defamation. You're calling me of treason? That's defamation. Mm-hmm. He said he was acting bizarre, and it was ridiculous. And then Tulsi Gabbard says, hold my beer. And this morning she came out with more documentation to prove that Obama was lying.
Obama is lying. And then one of the things that guys also been saying, we've been talking about this over and over again on the show, is the enemies are in such a panic. They're in such a disarray. And there's another prophecy that God gave me this morning about they know that Trump has all this information. They don't know exactly how much he has, but they know he has a lot, enough to take him down. And it's putting them in a panic because they don't know when he's going to use it. They don't know how he's going to use it, so they don't know how to fight him back. And I think what you're seeing with Hunter Biden having that unhinged interview, I only watched a small little clip of it, and they kept having to bleep out all the words that he was saying. So I'm like, okay, I'm done, because it was so crazy and it was off the wall. And then I didn't see Obama's response. I only heard about it. And then you have, of course, Nancy Pelosi. She's gone out there and like a couple weeks ago, and she had like unhinged, acting like, honestly, she was acting like Biden. That a couple weeks ago, and she was getting interviewed. These people, God also said they'd be losing their minds. They start acting more like they were crazy on live TV. They start saying things they don't mean to say. And another thing that he said was that the enemies were turning on each other. Well, Hunter Biden basically blew wide open, was so angry at all these people against his dad, and he went on this rant. I don't know how long the interview was, but he was going against all the establishment. God said these things were going to happen. And then I just heard this morning that all the people that Hunter Biden went after, sticking up for his dad, all those people are now going after Hunter Biden and blaming Hunter Biden for his dad's failures.
It's getting fascinating. It's getting deeper and deeper again. This press conference coming from Washington, D.C., as far as I know, it's still on, and we'll have to watch that play out. Somebody you and I know very well is going to be in the middle of it. That's all I'll say right now. Matt Tlaib this morning, I think it was this morning, had a bombshell a whistleblower come forward and said that Barack Obama was spying on President Trump in 2024 as well. This is going to be fascinating because we think of the spying that only happened his first term. But according to Matt Tlaib, he has a whistleblower coming forward to say that he was being spied on by Obama in 2024. And when you were in the ranch in Texas and you saw the server, I got confirmation that is indeed the server that they were using. it was a replica or to mimic the main NSA server, and they got it all.
Wow. So God's had a lot of prophecies on NSA. God's had a lot of prophecies on Obama orchestrating something. Now, I did not hear about this Matt Taibbi and what he said. God gave me this prophecy over the weekend. This is only part of it. So I'll read the part about the 2024 election, and then I'll go on and talk about more about the 2016 and 2020. But he said, of course, the indictments are falling and be proven it was a setup that Obama orchestrated in his efforts to keep the establishment from President Trump destroying them all. They know President Trump has what he needs to take them out right now. They can't understand why he hasn't used what he knows in his possession. The FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago will reveal what Obama was truly afraid of and why they went to those great lengths to get the evidence from President Trump. When they realized that they failed miserably, they took things to the next level by ordering his death. They're coming overwhelming proof of all the establishment's plans against my David and this nation and will totally wipe out the enemies in this nation. Then he says the 2024 election is still falling, or the 2024 election still is falling. The House and the Senate will change, and I told you before, the down ballot needs to be taken care of your enemies will never let go of your nation. The establishment's election fraud system is failing or falling. Elections will be in your news more and more to expose, to restore, and to set the nation free from captivity. Your government today is not the government you should have. This country will be in shock and awe to realize how many people in your government did not belong at all. The majority of D.C. or politicians in D.C. are frauds, and they stole those seats, and treason will be their end. Before he talked about the 2024, and now Obama orchestrated this. He orchestrated the 2016. He orchestrated the 2020. He orchestrated, we know, the 2022. He also orchestrated the 2024. And one of the things that God was saying about this, people were going back and they were happy. President Trump won. They're thinking everything is going to be sound. And God's saying, look, an election didn't save you. You got to look down to the down ballot. The down ballot has to be taken care of. Those people have to be removed from this nation. They have to be removed from those seats of power because we will never have fair elections and we will never have a free government. And so what he was saying is that we have to be praying and standing because God is going to bring all these elections down. He's not done. What he said earlier in this prophecy, and he was implicating Obama in all of this as the mastermind once again, which we know that God's been prophesying this a lot. I'll go back to the prophecies I have over the last couple of years. But one of these things he says, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Bidens, the Bushes, and all the very well-known long-term Washington establishment puppets, including Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Adam Schiff, Mitt Romney, and many other swamp rats are being sacrificed to save ones that can be salvaged from the establishment. The establishment thinks that they can control what is exposed, who is exposed, how is exposed, but as they are allowing some things to happen to cause distractions, they can take and countermeasure and save the establishment system, and their new puppets that take on the old guard failed to accomplish. They take on the old guard because they have failed to accomplish. While they are trying to save the new puppets and letting go of the old ones, they are collapsing faster and exposing them even more. These exposures, they can't control who is arrested, and they can't stop it like they once could. Those are being tried for treason. They can't interfere. It's no longer their country. It's no longer their government. It's no longer their intelligence community or the financial system to dictate when, how, who, where, and what happens. The establishment is crumbling when their main actors are being forced out. Watch what comes out next about Nancy Pelosi and the January 6th setup. It's all being exposed, and there's nothing the establishment can do about it. 2020, the whole big steal is coming out. I told you about 2016, how Obama tried to steal the election from President Trump. You are seeing some of that now before the next chess moves to be played to expose who stole the 2020 election, how it was orchestrated and controlled by Obama, payments to China, payments to other foreign nations, Obama's emails, instructions to the FBI, the CIA, to help with the efforts to keep President Trump out of office. Obama controlled the impeachments, the indictments, and of course, assassination attempts on Trump's life. Not one person who participated in treason will be left unpunished. And then he goes on to say, my children, I told you, justice is coming. Every stolen election will come down, and all those who stole from you will be arrested. As my judgment hits your enemies, a political reset will reshape this nation and your government, says the Lord.
Fascinating. You know, and the House just yesterday decided to go on recess for the next 5 weeks. They're saying it because of Epstein. I believe there's something deeper to that. There's a lot of things you can do with Congress out on recess appointments, and also their immunity while they're in Washington, D.C. I don't believe they have that same immunity outside of Washington, D.C. So hang on. I think that's part of it. But the Lord told you Obama emails. Those have come out now. There is an email that we showed on the War Report yesterday, him instructing Loretta Lynch, Obama instructing Loretta Lynch to get that Clinton email out so that it didn't get out, put pressure on James Comey, because he had a personal email on that server as well. They've also released more information about Benghazi, what Obama's role was SEAL Team 6, the Clintons. It's getting ugly. MLK, 230,000 pages of MLK, proving that the FBI and the CIA worked together to take out MLK. Tulsi Gabbard coming out and again explaining on Tucker Carlson, Ukraine bioweapons and how they use that for COVID-19. And then President Trump again in the Oval Office yesterday, I believe the same time he was meeting with the president of the Philippines, said some key things. You got to listen to President Trump very carefully. He's so brilliant. How he can get these things, I can't even talk straight, let alone put a comma in there. But he said the 2020 elections are not over again. And he brought up Adam Schiff. He said, Shifty Schiff is busted with his mortgage fraud. And President Trump tweeted out this week the evidence to prove that he didn't. But he said something more about Schiff. He said, and that was it. He said, the mortgage fraud, and there's something more. Oh, we know what that something more with Adam Schiff is. It's going to go to it's going to go all the way to his Hotel California. It's ugly.
Yeah, and I will say I'm only going to read a couple sentences off of these because there's several of them about Adam Schiff. I have some on Martin Luther King Jr. about that assassination and why they killed him. And so again, he's also talking about JFK again. God is saying about all of these people that the government had murdered. And so I'll talk about the Adam Schiff one. This is the first one that I had documented on the website right now is December 14th of 2021. So this was a long time ago, 4 years ago almost. Adam Schiff, how shifty you are, a weasel, a rat, and you sold this nation out and formulated plans to throw out my son from this rightful position as president. You thought you were so clever and couldn't be caught. Well, I will shine my spotlight on you, and you will see the proof of your disgusting acts against my son and the true president. And then that's just part of it. Then there's another one on Adam Schiff from March 3rd, 2025. Adam Schiff will soon be a laughingstock as the pardons he received once classified documents. Money trails will lead to the truth on how dirty he truly is, why he's tried to impeach President Trump, and the massive lies he has told to say about the architects of the establishment. This will include his involvement with the January 6th lie and how he pulled off the insurrection coup against the sitting president of the United States and the American people. Adam Schiff's hands will be caught in the cookie jar. Money will be downfall of another liar against this country. And then he goes on for another paragraph and says, to Adam Schiff and many in Washington, undeniable proof of all your connections to the attempted assassination of President Trump is coming. Every person connected and responsible will be exposed and judged in unprecedented ways. That was the second one. Here's the third one. November 25th, 2024, Adam Schiff, is up to no good. He has been on the quieter side when he has been the public's eye, but behind closed doors, he has been shouting very loudly to stop President Trump. He has been a group of his peers planting and plotting. But Adam Schiff will also, and all will know who he is, and will take a great fall. You will see him removed by me. A classified document that your enemies thought that he had buried will come back to haunt people in Washington. Those classified documents, those who hid these types of corruption and those who took part in it will be exposed. And they will all soon be where they should be, where they will be no more. So Again, and there's another one from February 7th of 2022. There's another one from May 3rd. God has been speaking about Adam Schiff and people like him for a very long time and giving great detail. This is only a few that we had time to bring on here. There's another one from 2024, another one from 2025, all about Adam Schiff, all about his treasonous acts and what he's done against President Trump in this country.
Buckle up. There's a whistleblower that came forward yesterday, about putting Obama into the assassination attempt on President Trump. I know of one, too, that's in custody that has claimed the same. I'm told this is a different person. So there's at least two whistleblowers. And that was something that was stated this morning, I believe. I can't remember who said this. Maybe it was John Solomon and Just the News, that whistleblowers are coming out of the woodwork now. Everybody wants to talk to get ahead of this because they know it's coming down. So you had two whistleblowers tied to the assassination Obama on President Trump. More evidence came out this week about his chef that was a swimmer that died in a foot of water. Some say it was because he was writing a tell-all book. Others say it was something else, but both sources told me that he was having relations with Barack. So, well, interesting.
God said these are the days of the whistleblowers, and God said he was going to give them a newfound boldness. He was talking about that. I think he started in 2022, and he said that they're going to start singing like canaries. He's giving them a newfound boldness at the right time. So a lot of them have been wanting to come out. They've been wanting to say something, but it wasn't the appropriate time. And so when you said that reminded me of all the prophecies that I've had about whistleblowers and their newfound boldness to come up because they can see the establishment walls are falling. They can see the establishment is in disarray. And so they're not as afraid for their lives as they used to. I'm sure they're still afraid for their life, but it's not as bad as it would have been a couple of years ago underneath Obama and the Biden.
Yeah, I think they're such in panic mode now that they're worrying about getting themselves protection. I don't know if anybody's seen Barack Obama in the last couple of days. There was a report that he jumped on two planes, but I haven't got that confirmed. But I don't know if anybody's seen him other than a statement that came forward yesterday from him, which I thought that was very bizarre. How timid he answered. Here you are, a former president of the United States of America. A sitting president says he committed treason. And that's what you come back with as your statement? That's it?
Yeah. And what did God say? And I think he started in 2021 or 2022, where he started talking about that treason would be in the news more and more.
Yep.
And that people would be tried for treason and treason would be their end. And so when President Trump actually came out and said that, I mean, my face just blew up. I was just so ecstatic. I was so happy because I'm like, Lord, this is something that has been talked about for a long time. You've been saying these things, but hearing our sitting president saying that and then seeing what all the things that God's been talking about with Russiagate, the 2016 election, and they're finally starting to come out. And then the whole thing that blew up about Hillary's emails. God said these servers, remember, he was cutting off their lines of communication. And he was also going to expose every email. And all these things that they thought they had deleted, all these things they had thought they had buried or destroyed are not at all. And God keeps saying he has it all. That's why these people are petrified, because they know that there are some things that are going on. They don't know all President Trump has. But I think they were underestimating him and realizing that they were underestimating him, that he has a lot more than that he says. And they know he's toying with him. He is the best troll. He is the best chess player. And I think that was interesting when God was talking about chess moves again were being made. And he said the 2016, had to be come out first, and then he was going to start allowing more than 2020 to come out. And then, of course, it's going to be 2016. And then you have all the indictments, you have the impeachments, all of this, like you talked about, we've been talking about for many years. Their house of cards is imploding. This was a lot of information in a short period of time. And then God said there's going to be unprecedented change in our government.
Wow. It just goes back to, I think 2 weeks ago when I heard all this stuff about Act Blue. Oh, by the way, Act Blue, there was a subpoena for Act Blue yesterday. So they're going to get to the bottom of Act Blue. Dr. Jerome Corsi, I had on, I think about 2 weeks ago, saying that they are going to get to the bottom of the 2020 election. They have it all. Act Blue will be a key component. And he's working with President Trump's personal attorney, Peter Tickton, who Peter and President Trump went to military school as kids together. They grew up together. So this is going to be very fascinating.
Really?
He's been working on, obviously, with Dr. Corsi, but he's also working on the Tina Peters in Colorado. And there's some positive developments coming out of that. I'll have Peter on, I think, next week. Next week or the following week, Peter will be on, and we'll ask him these questions about the 2020 election and more. That'll be fascinating.
That's going to be fascinating. And here's another prophecy that I want to give out. This was from June 2nd of 2025. Now, again, I will give out several more because God's been talking about this for so long. But he said, Nancy Pelosi will soon be a scapegoat for the establishment, but it will not work because Bidengate is destroying everything that they have done. The 2020 election, the 2022 election, the 2024 election, and every election before that. They used the system in 2016, and that will all be brought out in the open. Russiagate will soon be annihilated. Hold on, my children, because Biden's exposures has only just begun, and the establishment will pay the ultimate price. The entire system will come to nothing. That was June 2nd. Now, here's another one from May 2nd of 2025. And it says, woe to Barack Obama. You truly think this nation is yours and that is under your full control. You think you have who you need to protect you and your army as you move forward with your plans to collapse this nation as you see fit. But you are forgetting who I am, and I am the one true God, and this nation is mine. You will pay a very high price when the truth comes out about you and Michelle. Proof of every treasonous act and you have committed. You are a murderer, a liar, a deceiver, and a thief, and you were never the rightful leader of this nation. So it's also going to come out. Not only did he orchestrate the 2016 election, he was trying to orchestrate all the midterms. He orchestrated the 2020. He orchestrated the impeachments. He orchestrated the indictments. He orchestrated the assassination attempts. This is all going to come out. And of course, that he was never a legitimate president. This will soon come out as well. Because again, God's just not going to expose some things. God's going to expose everything. And one of the things that God says in his word over and over, he says it in Luke a couple times, he says it in Matthew, he says it in Mark, that everything that is hidden will be made known. They have tried to do these things. God has also been saying in a lot of different prophecies that the skeletons in all of their closets was coming out. And so everything they tried to kill people, everything they tried to destroy and bury is all going to be unearthed. God has been saying that time and time again, and that's why I really start feeling that we are going to start seeing more and more about Obama and about Hillary and the Biden. He hasn't been in the news much lately, but he soon will. Again.
Yeah. That Autopin is picking up more steam. There was something yesterday where all the different Autopin signatures, that whole house of cards is collapsed. Oh, I remember who it was, but we covered it on the War Report. But something as simple as Brown, the last Supreme Court justice. This legal analyst believes that's null and void. She shouldn't be there. It was an Autopin.
Yep. That's right. And he's also an illegitimate president, too. So it's not just the Autopin. It also goes to the fact he was not a legitimate president.
Yep.
So you have double whammy there. And you got to think if Obama wasn't a president, how many people he appointed on the Supreme Court, and how many appointed judges right now, federal judges around this country, were appointed by Obama and they were appointed by the Biden, and how many of them they don't belong in those seats.
Wow.
At all. This is not going to just shake. And again, a lot of people are just looking at the presidential election. God kept talking about the down ballot, and God also kept talking about the judicial system, because you can't have one without the other. He's also talked very in depth about the intelligence community, because you can't have them still corrupted and still like they're playing their games and trying to hide things. I know from somebody told me that they have tons of evidence on Epstein that they were hiding. There is now proof, which God had also prophesied this, I think, right after this happened, that there was more than one shooter when it came to the assassination attempt of President Trump and Butler.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden I heard that there is proof that there was another person. I don't know. I don't think they've said who the person was, but there is proof now that somebody else took a shot, which I think it was kind of easy when you saw that video. You could hear more than one gun going off.
Mm-hmm.
But at first you just thought it was the gun of Thomas Crooks, and then it could have been like an FBI person, but the FBI person didn't shoot for like the first 10 or 12 seconds. So Thomas Crooks was able to fire off more. Plus we know there's somebody else that was involved. But again, God was saying this because he said right away that night when we were praying for President Trump, Dr. Manuel and I were on a live stream that day that happened. It was a few hours after the assassination attempt. And one of the things that God talked about, how this was so close to the JFK assassination.
Wow. You know, we almost have to have a constitutional scholar to come on, and I need to do that. Because this is unprecedented. What do you do? What do you do when you find out that all these things happened? I believe the only way you can solve this is you're going to have martial law. You're going to have the military take over for a short period of time, make sure you have lawful elections and get the elections from top all the way down correct. Once again, there's no other way.
No. And God's talked about martial law, and God's talked about a shutdown. And this is something that's why he even asked the other day in a prophecy, are you ready? He's asking his children, are you ready? Because things are going to shake, and things are going to be violent at times, violent and shaking. Things are going to take you out of your comfort zone, out of your normalcy of life. And that's why God's asking this, because you have to have the military truly take over. And like you said, have martial law. We have to get down and every single person. That's why God calls this that political reset.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take something, a whole entire government body, and take it and cleanse it out of everybody who doesn't belong. And I'm not talking, because again, when we think about elections, people say, okay, we're going to have a 2016 midterm or 2026 midterm election here soon. We'll just get more, because Democrats are not liked as much. So we're just going to get more in the House or in the Senate. No, you're not. Mm-hmm. Because you still have an election fraud system that is put in place. And because now they don't have to worry about the president, they have to worry, they're going to focus more on the down ballots.
Yep.
And so we have to say, he's even been prophesying and stand now. At any election going forward, there's a lot of things I think they're going to shake up about elections. I don't think the elections are going to be the normal elections like people think, especially for the whole 2028 situation. But I think there's a lot of things that are going to change because the man-made system that we have for election is broken right now. And we have people lying, cheating, stealing every way they possibly can. So we can't trust that system that has been in place. And so, again, that's why I think you were spot on, because God also talked about this, about martial law. The enemies wanted martial law, that's for sure. But they wanted us during COVID time. They want us to completely use martial law to completely shut down our country. Mm-hmm. But instead, they're going to get martial law in order to take them down. Because when you're talking about removing and do an entire new House, an entire new Senate, you're talking about an entire judicial system. This is major, major issue. And we also know that there are people that were elected. There are people that are next to President Trump that have to also be removed. This is shaking to a degree that no one's ever seen. That's why God keeps using that word unprecedented.
It is unprecedented. I was just told that yesterday again. Because of how slick Obama is, and kind of that slickness showed yesterday, like kind of joking it off, like, Trump's out of his mind. He's called me treason. It just, how that shuffle that Obama has, just this calm. Mm-hmm. If he gets in front of a camera and the fake news covers him and tries to respin this, he's going to put the entire country in a division and into chaos. They can't allow that to happen because it will be a kangaroo court with him, with the fake news manipulating everything he says for Obama's gain. They got to shut that off.
But, you can see that God's already been dismantling the mainstream media.
Yep.
You got to think of all the people that were major, major journalists and they had all these different major shows, and a lot of them have already been removed. Since 2020. Think about all the people that have been on CBS, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all of them, and they no longer have their shows. Why? Because there's judgment that's hitting them. We know CNN is collapsing. I mean, they're about to go bankrupt. You have MSNBC that's in trouble. You have all these different ones that are literally, now you have the NPR, now you have PBS and having their funding taken away from them. God is right now in front of us, dismantling and disrupting and taking their money sources away. They don't have the funding they used to. And so in order to have this political reset, really, truly, so this country is not in a civil war because our enemies want a civil war. That's why they're causing so much division. They want a civil war, so if somebody tries to go and arrest Obama, all hell is going to break loose, they think. This is going to be a disaster. I don't think he realizes how many people dislike him and how many people are not believing the junk that's coming out on MSN.
Yeah, that's true. It's only, I would say at best, it's probably 30% that will drink the Kool-Aid, and maybe out of that 30%, 10% could watch the murder happen right in front of their very eyes, and they'd still go along with the lie. But you're right. Fake news is starting to come down. A couple key things is President Trump won another lawsuit again yesterday, defamation. So proving them that they lie and they're being paid and caught in court. But once RFK Jr. cuts that pharmaceutical spot out of these fake news, that's the last thing they can stand on financially. It's gone. They don't have the people to keep the shows going. And not to forget, those who participated in this are going to be held with sedition and treason as well. They're not innocent bystanders just talking about the news. They knew.
The news knew. You think of all these pollsters, they knew because they were putting out fake polls. You think about all the people that were in voting machines on these elections, and they were changing votes. They knew that they were changing, the machines were changing votes, and nothing was done about it. All those people we know in Georgia, in Atlanta, during that whole entire thing with Rudy Giuliani, those women we saw continuously put those same ballots in over and over and over again, count them again. You know, all of these people, that's treasonous acts. You cannot interfere in an election. I don't care if you're a poll worker. I don't care if you are all the way up to anyone. It doesn't matter what position you're. Secretaries of states, you've had governors that were involved. These people were involved. AGs were involved in the acts of treason. That's why God even said, this has to be political reset, because you have it on federal level. I mean, all DC, but you also have this type of evil and this type of fraud in state level. Think how many people don't belong in most House and state representatives in certain states. Yep. They don't. How many elections have we actually had that were true and fair, and how many have we had that were complete farce and a lie?
And how many of those people were in cities and governments that hurt our farmers, hurt property taxes, did things for their own? That's probably as evil, if not more evil, than what we see at the federal level. Yeah. Yeah. And so when we come back from the break, there is more of those 2016 things were buried, the treasonous acts. I mean, there was like 33 pages and that's just some of them that I could have gone through about what guy said about Obama, what guy said about Russiagate, what guy said about Hillary Clinton, her emails, Adam Schiff, all of them, John Brennan, James Comey. I mean, this is just some of the things that God's been speaking about over the last 4 years. Yeah, it's all coming to fruition. It's all coming out. One other thing nobody's paying attention is that shooter that was part of the DNC that killed the state House and state senator in Minnesota. Nobody's asking why, because in his statement he said Waltz told him to go kill a sitting senator, Amy Klobuchar. Why isn't anybody talking about that? That's fascinating. It's a pretty big makeup. God said a lot of people are going to be in handcuffs. And I know that he was one of them, because God did say that treason would be his end. So I have a feeling, and he also has been talking about how many people in D.C. were going to come out in handcuffs. And Barack Obama, if I'm still right, he still has a shadow government in his home in Washington, D.C. Yep. This is from, you were asking me if any generals, I got two during the break. This is from one. Truth will also come out on this, which includes murder at the White House. The Bushes will show as being connected to the Clintons in many areas. He's referencing the Clinton body count that are dead. And there is a list of 50 some Clinton body count.
Really?
Yep.
I gotta find the one I had about the Clintons and I had about the Bushes. It was a really big one about because I was gonna give it to you yesterday or that last time I was on. I gotta find it. That was about the Bush as being in George H.W. Bush being in the CIA and how bad it was. Okay, so this one was from July 6th. And he said, oh, my United States, deep, dark CIA secrets are coming to the surface. The way they controlled, murdered, assassinated anyone who was a threat to them or stood in their way of completely destroying this nation. They stole elections, manipulated politicians, and what they did. They say they do. The CIA makes decisions in Washington, and most people don't realize. Politicians do not have much say in what really goes on because they are just puppets who are forced to obey orders handed down to them. The CIA controls what is put in the spending bills, all the hidden agendas, all the pork, and how they funnel money to their desired locations. They blackmail the forced politicians to vote for the bills, whether they agree with them or not. Then he said the CIA many secrets about how have controlled most of Washington when they started and how bad it truly has gotten will all be revealed and brought out in the open. I told you before that they were behind the JFK assassination. They orchestrated the whole thing and tried to frame Lee Harvey Oswald, but it was the CIA who killed him. The truth of who shot and killed JFK will also be revealed. The whole plan from start to finish, who was in charge, and will all come out in the open. The Bushes will answer for the crimes the deep state has tried to cover up for them. The CIA has tried to bury both the evil Bush family truly is in all the treasonous acts that they've committed to keep this family protected and continue to keep this establishment moving forward with their plans of destroying this nation. So a lot of people talk about the Biden crime family, but it's also the Bush crime family. And then he says, it is unprecedented. Not only George H.W. Bush's role in the JFK assassination, but also the treason he committed, the orders he gave, the treasonous acts he oversaw on countless occasions when he was a director of the CIA. George H.W. Bush was a large part of the globalist plan to take down this nation. He was part of the financially overwhelming this nation with unpayable debt, causing the country to fall with no way to recover. But this plan did not go as planned. So it appeared that they gave the assignment to President Clinton with Hillary by his side, but she was the one who took over. She took the reins and helped cause a massive housing crisis to bury the United States, but they did not fully work. George W. Bush took the reins and was a major part in 9/11 to fully destroy this nation. He's a snake just like his father and many politicians before him. The Biden crime family will be taken down and fully before the nation. When the Bushes and Clintons did not complete their mission, Obama was sent in to finish it off. For a short time, Obama was completing many assignments of the establishment to crush the nation under a debt, start wars, cause great division in society in a way that would never recover. But things Obama's second term started to slow down. Plans started to fall apart. The establishment ran out of time for Obama to complete what was needed, so they brought back Hillary Clinton once again to take the reins and finish off this country once and for all for the one world government. When that election in 2016 could not be stolen, it sent shockwaves through the establishment and the number of crimes they've committed since then to try to regain control has been unprecedented. President Trump has been a worst nightmare, and so have the citizens of this nation who are resisting the one world agenda. President Trump has been their worst nightmare, and so are the citizens. Oh, sorry. I read that again. Your enemies still think they can steal the 2026 elections and the midterms. They already have their plans in place and things set in motion to paralyze President Trump as much as they can by possibly stealing the House and the Senate. But what they have already done against the 2026 midterms is about to blow up in their face. Not only can they not steal that election, but they will also be hit with massive losses to a degree that they have never experienced before. This political reset is going to knock them all out of commission. That's just part of that one.
Yeah, that's George W. Bush, wars, Patriot Act after 9/11, the whys and whys, our military going to Afghanistan, Iraq to fight over a lie, implemented the Patriot Act, which was part of the corrupt FISA court that spied on Americans and unmasked them. We had an engineer on last week to show that 9/11 was an inside job and it was rigged, and an engineer showing exactly how that happened. And I think last week we talked about George H.W. Bush. Man, out of all the people we're talking about, he is the most evil of them all, and most people wouldn't realize that. We talked about the brains and the satanic rituals that they would do. Just absolutely pure evil.
It is pure evil. And I think that's what I said. I think a lot of people don't realize when you have this much evil and this much evil is exposed, how it will affect everybody's life. You're just thinking it's going to fix politically, but don't realize how everything else that they have been involved in is going to change.
Yep.
And one of those things I think a lot of people are not also prepared for is how bad the financial system is going to change. Now, it's going to be good for us, but bad for people who are not listening to God. So God is changing. He is going to change the financial system. We've talked about that. It has to be done. He has to fulfill this political reset, because we're never going to have the country that he wants us to have if we still have these people stealing elections and staying in their power when they don't belong.
Yep.
That's why God calls us unprecedented. It's something that we have never seen before. You got to think, if our country goes on total martial law lockdown, can you imagine how people are going to respond to that? Not well, probably.
No.
Some people like us are going to be like shouting and rejoicing and excited, and because we know what's going on. But there's a lot of people who are not listening to what's going on, and I think they're going to be totally taken by surprise, and they won't know how to handle it.
Well, some of the big boys know something big is coming in the financial market. You got Jeff Bezos selling almost, $1 billion worth of stock in the last 2 weeks of Amazon. Warren Buffett's playing cash position. He's getting out of the market. JP Morgan's getting out of the market. What do they know? What's coming? They know. Why is President Trump going after Chairman Powell literally every day? He was supposed to be rumored to be resigning this morning, and so far I don't see that announced. He was given a criminal referral yesterday.
Wow.
So they're putting a lot of heat on him. So this new financial system is coming one way or another. And I was told on Monday that they actually have flipped the switch on something you've seen at the ranch. The back end has been flipped over. So it's ready to transition from Babylonian system to the new system, which will be backed by silver, gold, and crypto. So
yeah, and another thing is about Jerome Powell. God has had many prophecies on him. I have read them on here also, is that he was being forced out.
Yeah.
It may look like he's going to retire. It may look like something like that. Oh, whatever, It's not. He's being forced out. And something I thought was really interesting, because some of the prophecy fulfilled team that sends me a lot of this information, a lot of these news links before this show, so I know what's going on. They were telling me that there's some Fed Mahal, I think is what they call it. They're doing major renovations to the Federal Reserve. And then President Trump, when he tried to have somebody come in there and check out what they were doing, they denied him access and they only sent a video. What are they hiding in that building? I'm sorry. If you are getting federal funds, you can't hide from them.
That's the criminal referral that I was talking about. It has to do with that $2.5 billion with a B renovation that they're doing at the Federal Reserve. The Treasury Secretary said he was going to go in and audit him himself. They're not letting him in, and that's why the criminal referral came into place. Something and I'm told he lied under oath as well. So a lot of pressure.
There is a lot of pressure, but that's what God was putting pressure on them. Like, I was reading a story of Gideon, and it looked like even with his 32,000 men, his army was nothing compared to the army that he was going to fight against. And then when God told him to get rid of people who were afraid. So that was 22,000 people he had to get rid of. And then all of a sudden he was down at 10,000. He's like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I was going to fight him with 32. How am I going to fight him with only 10,000? And then he got down to 300. So it doesn't matter how many we are fighting with, and it doesn't even matter who we're fighting against. Because one thing that we have to know is God is on our side. God is fighting our battles, and we are winning. I know people have gotten really frustrated because nothing's happened with the Epstein. Nothing's happening with Diddy. And so they truly think that this is something that's just going to be blown over. We're going to forget about it after a while, and then things aren't going to be completed. And God said that's not true. He's taking care of all of that. They think they can try to sweep it under a rug. They can't do it. All these things are coming out, full exposure, full transparency, and they're coming down.
They are coming down because if they had anything on President Trump, on Epstein, they would have played that. In the same photos I see the fake news using on President Trump and Epstein, they use the same ones over and over again. It's like maybe they were friends at one time. I don't know. But a lot of people like President Trump knows. The bottom line is he found out what Epstein was all about at Mar-a-Lago, and he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. But going back to Jerome Powell, because I think that's the final nail in the coffin, is the financial system. Once we can flip this financial system, the deep state is cooked in the squat. Two key things happened yesterday and just now. The June housing market sales came back really, really light, under expectation. And that is because of the huge interest rates that Powell is refusing to lower. He's saying reason he's not lowering them is because the uncertainty in tariffs. Well, President Trump just had the deal of all deals signed yesterday with Japan. This is a monumental deal. You can't even make this up. He is literally in that deal. There's billions and billions of dollars. Takes our tariff down to zero. I think Japan's at 19%, if I remember correctly. But we're literally selling rice to Japan. You can't make that up. They're buying rice from America.
And the trade deals are extremely important because the trade deals are what's also going to be the ones that are going to finance this government.
Yep.
Tariffs, all these trade deals, all this stuff is working to benefit ourselves. And that's the reason why the government did not do this before when they know it was the right thing to do, is because they don't want this country to work. They want this country to fail financially. They want it to fail medically. They want it to fall in society and with people's mental decline. It's not going to work. God's plan will always prevail. And that's, again, why he keeps telling us to stand and hold that line, because the enemies are coming down no matter how hard it is. They are coming down. That Babylonian system, or that financial system, which God calls it, is a system that will be completely overhauled. God's saying he's doing a lot of overhauling.
Yeah, there's a lot of overhauling coming. Just to put this in perspective, I wasn't told, the Treasury Secretary said yesterday, this is before the Japan deal. At the current pace, this is before the Philippines deal and the Japan deal, and I don't believe India is considered in this yet. Just what he's done so far before yesterday in tariffs coming into the United States of America represents 1% of GDP. 1% of GDP. That is absolutely huge.
Wow. I don't know what to say to that. That is huge.
Yep.
Wow. Well, again, doesn't matter what they're doing. They are all coming down.
But yet the Fed Reserve cannot lower interest rates. What gives with that? And then just the day before that, too, I don't know if we called this out last week on Wednesday, but I was watching, it was either Tuesday, just before you came. Oh, did we pre-tape last week? I think it was just before you came on.
We did.
I was watching CNN because we've got eight live feeds going on here. I was watching CNN come out and it says, inflation numbers are up. I'm like, where did they pull those inflation numbers? And then an hour later, the real inflation numbers came in and they were down. They continue to lie.
That's right. They don't know how to tell the truth. They literally don't know how to tell the truth. I think sometimes when they're lying, they actually may feel like they're telling the truth when they're not.
It's insanity. I don't know how people can even watch them.
Wall Street has to come down. We have to have the Federal Reserve come down because, again, there's another one If I read this one or not. I think I read this one already. It talks about the financial system a little bit more. Where did I put all of them? I think I have this one here. Because there was a huge one, a part of the banking system. Now, this is also part of the banking system. This is also something that is going to come down big time. Okay. Now, it is exposing and bringing down who really controls the establishment in D.C. I'll read this part of it first. Your enemies have tried to bring in their great reset, but it has failed. Because it's the time for my church. You will see more globalists exposed. You will see how their major corporations control the nations and the world financial system. It will all crash right before your eyes. Remember, God's been talking about the system. We've been talking about the system, how we know the system is coming down. We've seen what's going to bring it back in. I will tell you again, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, these corporations will be in the news continuously. They are being exposed. They are being brought down. They're tied to Wall Street, big banks, corporate America. They took over, drowning out, suffocating any other businesses that would fall in line with their corporate stream or system. It will all be brought in the open how these corporations control DC and the deep state, and they are trying to take over this nation. Then it says, my United States, you were sold off piece by piece under the radar and made into a corporation yourself. The globalists tried to control. The elites that run and operate Blackstreet, Vanguard, and State Street are the ones who really control politicians and where all your tax dollars go and who is bailed out and who is let go. And then he says, let's see here. Oh, yeah. You will see all this that is influence of puppet masters that run these corporations, manipulate, control spending bills, foreign aid, military spending budgets. The World Economic Forum designed these giants and corporations to swallow up countries, that their financial system and their freedom of any kind. And he says the globalists have always been after the United States since its birth. They do not want a superpower to exist, and especially do not want a nation to allow its citizens to have freedom. They do not want any country to be separate from their global system. The United States has been controlled long enough. The elites, the establishment, and their puppets and their entire system will fall in front of you. You may say, Lord, how is this going to happen? I'm telling you, my children, many things are happening to destroy your enemies that you aren't seeing yet, but you soon will. You will start to see major and well-known corporations go bankrupt. You will see their CEOs and presidents exposed for their crimes they've been committing. You will see how they are funneling money to foreign nations to cause wars and cripple the world economy. You will see how they are connected and control child trade and trafficking. They have designed Ponzi schemes in many nations to control economies. So much fraud is going on in these major corporations worldwide, and that is being torn apart. And the reason why I'm reading part of this, and I'll go over because he goes over and talks about more corporations, but the reason why I'm saying that is because this is part of that financial system. It is part of what God is bringing down, this complete system that's been controlling this nation and suffocating this nation financially. They have been controlling everything that is made. They've been controlling big businesses, big banks. It has been so bad. It has been so bad that this system is no longer a system that can be trusted and is enslaving more people than you realize.
Yep. It's been a long time in the making, but we're seeing those things come out every day. We saw old Twitter. We became X. You saw people from the FBI go into Twitter at the time and rig that up, ban the sitting president of the United States. The same general counsel that ran the FBI behind the scenes did it. We're starting to see the same threat. It's been reported this week by Microsoft. Microsoft has taken some of these deep state actors and put it into them. And now we're finding that some of what Microsoft was doing from federal Department of Defense private information was accessing to China.
Guess what the next paragraph talks about?
Microsoft.
And you know how many prophecies he's had on Microsoft? It has been unreal how many prophecies he's had on Microsoft and Bill Gates. But he says Apple will be exposed. Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Alphabet Inc., Berkshire Hathaway, ExxonMobil, and many others. Everyone that has been connected in controlling or manipulating the United States government, stealing elections, paying politicians, manipulating Wall Street will all be destroyed by my hand, says the Lord. So again, he's mentioning these corporations. These corporations are massive because people just think it's politicians in Washington. No, these corporations like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, Microsoft, Apple, all of these, a lot of Silicon Valley, are the ones who are really controlling what is happening in DC. They're controlling what the spending bills are. They're controlling where all these budgets are going. They're controlling, of course, they're putting all the pork in there. This is bad. And these corporations, God said corporate America, because it has been so designed by BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, or AKA the World Economic Forum. They're the ones who are behind the majority of these things, if not all of these things. And God's saying this has to be taken out. People just want politicians removed. Yes, we have to have politicians removed. We have to have their banking system removed. We have to have their entire Wall Street and have it done a completely different way because they are out of control. This is something that is so much bigger than just removing the House and the Senate. This is going to seriously change capital and corporate America, because just like one of the prophecies that God said, that he's, and this one later one, he said, the evil that controls these corporations is being destroyed. A great shaking is coming financially in corporate America, including Silicon Valley, that is about to shake violently. Now, if I'm right, because I didn't even look this up when I should have the other day, I think the ones he mentioned, like Microsoft, Apple, and Google, and a lot of them are out of Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know if all of them are, but I know some of them are out of Silicon Valley. Guys talked about a lot of them, a lot of these corporations that are out of New York City. And now he keeps bringing up New York City and downtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
It is going to be explosive what's going to come out about all that too.
Yeah, so that's Wall Street, Apple, all these people. So if somebody's watching this today and you are in the stock market, if you even in an index or a mutual fund, you got to make sure that you're not in any of those companies that she talked about, because this Babylonian system comes down. If you have stock in those companies, you're going to get impacted. This might be a good time to get into physical silver and gold or annuities. But you don't want to be in any of these companies because they they're coming down. One of them also, it triggered my mind when you mentioned these names. There was a whistleblower that came forward end of last week saying the head of Google, I think this was at the time of Obama, went in and put a secret server in North Korea.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah. And we're running things from there so nobody could track what was going on in North Korea. If you remember, he had a meeting with Kim Jong-un, the head of Google, back the time of Obama. And you're like, why is he going into North Korea? Do they even have computers? Well, that's why they're doing it, was to hide the server. They had hidden servers hidden everywhere, including Israel had, believe it or not, I said this already, but Israel had a hidden server in Iran.
Yeah. And the thing is with Google, because God's been talking about Microsoft and Google in a lot of prophecies. And he's been talking about how these major corporations like this and these major companies, again, they're the ones who are trying to control, and they are actually involved in elections. And just like you said, they were going over to Kim Jong-un. I had no idea actually that meeting happened. I know, I thought you were talking about Kim Jong-un and, President Trump when President Trump talked to him. But I didn't know that Google went over there. First of all, what are they doing? What business do they have to be over there? Like you said, the servers, God is saying he's cut the lines of the communications off, and these servers are going to start being exposed more and more, because a lot of this country and a lot of these bigger corporations, you have also the intelligence community, you have the establishment, you also have Washington that has been working with all these different nations to actually take out this nation. It is insane. All the money we've been blowing and spending on different foreign aid, all these different things we're spending on military budgets and funding, all these things have been going for corruption in all of these countries. First of all, one of the things that's been going on with China especially is that we've been paying China under the table because we are, the establishment was, in order to have them help with stealing elections. Google is going down, and they're going to go down big time because they're the ones who are also helping with disinformation. They're hiding information. They're changing the truth about what is really happening. Just like we were talking about, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago when I talked about another prophecy on Google of how they even were changing ethnic groups on people. They were changing so much information. It was seriously insane what they have been doing. And so Google is going to have a shakeup. I think God even talked about the president and CEO of Google. He talked about YouTube. He talked about Facebook. He talked about, I think it was TikTok. And he said a lot of these social media giants are coming down because they're also being judged for what they have done to influence elections, steal elections, but also to influence this younger generation and a lot of brainwashing that they have done. So there's so many pieces to this puzzle of this demonic world government system that have to be annihilated. And that's why God said it is going to look worse before it gets better, because you got to think, if social media is involved, you have your healthcare system involved, you have the judicial system involved, you have your whole entire government involved, because they have a deep state working to undermine President Trump. You have all these different people and things are going on. And it's like, what in the world is actually sound? What is in the world is actually going to be able to work on our behalf to get our country back? And that is God. God is the one who's going to have to force the enemies out of our land. He is the one who's going to do the unprecedented, and he's the one who's going to get the glory for everything that's going to happen, because it is going to take something so shaking and so shocking that is not something that we have ever seen in our country before. And a lot of people will not be prepared because they're not listening to what God has been trying to tell them.
Amen. It's God. It's just another message from another general. And every one of these generals are saying, God, God, God. We see, I saw General Flynn make I don't remember who he was on. He was making a statement about the Obama stuff, but he said it was faith. Faith is what kept him going through those dark times, and and basically said light wins. And that's how every time him and I text, I always end with light wins. And he always says, always. That's kind of our goodbye or when we text. But a 4-star Space Force general was on with me, I'll just say recently. And this general is responsible for the highest tech on the planet. We have high-tech stuff more than anybody can ever imagine. And at the end of it, we had a chance to talk, and he's followed his glory. He watches Wednesdays with Julie Green, and I didn't know he did. He gave praise to God, but one thing, which is the most important thing. And then he says, you know what? We have everything. And what you've been saying about light wins, light won.
And how many times and how many prophecies God is saying they have everything. He has made sure that his army was put in place because he infiltrated the infiltrators, which he said that line several different times. And that's the reason why they have everything. And so, and now he's mentioned on several different prophecies about how the enemies thought that they had deleted something, they had destroyed the evidence, and God said that wasn't the only copy. And just like that whole thing with Mar-a-Lago, I thought that was, again, interesting that he brought this up because he brought it up a couple of years back. But one of the things he said was they thought that something that President Trump had, because we talked about this before after I heard that prophecy, something that President Trump had in his possession, they knew that was going to be life-altering for them. It was going to literally destroy the establishment. They had to get it out of his possession when they, I think an infiltrator of the infiltrators gave them the wrong, type of information. And so, because this showed so bad, when they put the FBI at his home, this showed how wicked of a manhunt this really was, how a witch hunt it was, how evil it was. And of course, they didn't find anything that was there. But God is saying everything they've done to my David will be done unto them. And he's very, very, very specific. And that's why I keep saying the days of Haman.
Yeah, what they said they went after in Mar-a-Lago was not what they were going after. I think we mentioned that many times. I think Kash Patel on his glory said that one time, and I don't want to take Kash's words out of his mouth, but I was told, I think I mentioned this on Wednesday with you before, I was told when they went into the safe that had the symbol of a chess match, chess game, checkmate.
God, and I remember you saying that because there was one, it was, well, God said it, that President Trump was playing chess when his enemies are playing checkers. They're not on the same playing field. And so when the chess moves are being made, there's no counteraction that the enemy can take. And that is extremely powerful. And then that's why he even said at one point, I think it was actually the one I gave it out today. I think I actually read that part to you already, is that he said specifically that a chess move would have to be made. I think he said it was right before. Yeah, he said the 2020, the whole big steal is coming out. I told you about 2016, how Obama tried to steal the election from President Trump. You are seeing some of now before the next chess moves to be played to expose who stole the 2020 election.
You know, it's fascinating. I keep going back on what the Lord just told you and something you mentioned earlier, and I'm like, I go back to Jerome Corsi when I had him on, and he spilled it that the 2020 elections, there's an executive order that he's working with the president's chief personal attorney, Peter Tickton, and they're working on this. And this executive order, there would be paper ballots, no machines. I'm thinking, what could he possibly do to make this happen? It sounds far-fetched. Well, if he comes out with complete evidence to show that it was rigged, there you go.
Yeah, he will. God is saying he's restoring. And that's the reason why he said every person that is in any seat that don't belong, he is going to remove them himself. God says in his word, he's the one who fights our battles. He's the one who defeats the enemies. And there's even a translation of another scripture that I was just reading out this morning, that he forces our enemies out. And again, he's also said that they're making deals behind the scenes. Some people are making deals with President Trump because he knows he has something. So some people are giving, even the people they used to work side by side with, they're giving them away to save their own self.
Yep.
There are many, many betrayals going on right now in the deep state. They can't trust each other. They all have targets on their back, and they don't know what is being said and what's not being said and what they can do to fix it. They are in panic mode. And that's the reason why you're seeing them going off on live TV on these crazy lunatic rants, not making any sense. They are unhinged with what they are doing. And that's the reason why we're seeing it, because God said that the Biden wasn't going to be the only one that was going to lose his cognitive function.
Well, Hunter went off. I mean, I didn't see the whole video, but he went. A lot of people are questioning, was he high during that interview? Because he was just all over the place. But he was all over the place. Not. I don't remember him attacking President Trump at all. It was attacking other people inside the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I did not know because I didn't watch it all, but I do know that I saw he did it. Like I said, I watched the bleeping one because he said a lot of F-bombs. But I was like, he's screaming. He was yelling. He was like literally betraying and backstabbing everybody who saved him with that laptop, who saved his dad, because his dad should have been thrown in jail a long time ago. Or, well, not his dad, but the one who looks like his dad anyway. And so I think what you saw was complete panic, because Hunter Biden knows he's in hot water. Once his dad or the Biden goes, so is Hunter. And that's why you saw him freaked out.
Well, they all are. There's not a single pardon that's going to stay in place, especially the January 6th committee. Again, just think about this. The entire January 6th committee gets pardoned. They were pardoned. Pardoned for what? The only thing we know that they actually did was destroy evidence of the January 6th committee. You pardon them before any crime is, that just tells you they're hiding something. They're in panic because you mentioned through the Lord that Nancy Pelosi and this laptop is going to be exposed January 6th. I'm hearing it. It's going to be the mother. And I know somebody that has one of them. That's all I'll say. And I'm told there's at least two.
Yeah. God said it. Laptops are going to be a nightmare for the establishment. Not only follow the money, find the truth, but he said these are the days of the laptops coming out in the open. And so all these different things that they were hiding on these laptops, he was going to expose. He said laptops are going to be their worst enemy. He said because the emails, because of all the blackmail that's on them, because of even any conversation they've had with anybody, God is saying laptops are going to be a huge issue for the establishment. So hang on, because not only laptops are going to come out, the server's going to be exposed, emails are going to come out, phone conversations, text messages, you name it. There is plenty of proof. And of course, there's going to be video and audio of people talking, but there is going to be so much proof that will not be denied.
Yeah, the Seth Rich. I heard more about the Seth Rich situation yesterday. That's going to be proven to exactly what happened. Julian Assange, I believe, at one point admitted what happened, and nobody listened to him, or they tried to delete it or not play it. But and then there was a report that a video we showed from an NSA analyst with Tucker Carlson yesterday's war report that the hacking of the DNC to take that information was never a hack. It was a thumb drive download. Somebody from within did that, and that's who they believe that was Seth Rich giving it to WikiLeaks. And all that truth, we know that's true. It's out there.
Yeah. God also talked about hard drives, by the way. I remember exactly which prophecy. I know he talked about hard drives were going to come out and expose a lot. I do know part of the hard drives he was talking about was the actual election fraud. So, but I'd have to go back and look at all the prophecies that he's had about hard drives, because he has had several, or at least a few anyway. So all these things that you're saying, guys, he's saying it's coming to pass.
Yeah, it seems like Dr. Jerome Corsi was saying something about hard drives too. I'm going to have him back on and ask him again, but he's 100% convinced that they got him. And I remember him in the night in the election. We were in the green room with Colonel McGregor on Colonel McGregor's show, and we were talking. And he said, God has it. We have them right where we want them. And he said, they're going to try to cheat, but we have a countermeasure. And that's what General McInerney was referring to. And sure enough, they tried to cheat. They caught him. They stopped them, but they were able to do it down the ballot.
Yeah.
Not with President Trump.
But people need to keep declaring elections are going to come down. Guys, political reset. God is protecting us during this political reset, even though that things are going to shake, and even though the things are going to not look normal, and they may look a little bit terrifying, or they're maybe look a little bit unsettling. God said he's protecting us, just like he did in the land of Goshen. And not only did he protect them, but he also delivered them. And that's what God is doing for us. So we have a lot to look forward to. We've seen bad things. God is moving. God is winning. And that's what we need to be paying attention to.
Yeah, because the fun time's coming. The pain and suffering and the long haul is about over. The fun is the glory time to reach 1 billion souls and see the Spirit of the Lord moving all over the world. Again, another wonderful Wednesdays with Julie Green. Julie, thank you.
Mà thắng lại còn được ban thưởng. Cả bọn thầm nghĩ chắc Diệp không sẽ lấy tiền bạc hoặc vũ khí gia truyền. Con muốn học võ, Diệp không ngang nhiên nói ra. Đây là quyền lợi của người thắng cuộc, không tính là một yêu cầu. Con muốn phụ thân dạy con. Diệp không vừa nói ra chúng đệ tử lại xôn xao cả lên. Phải biết rằng Diệp lão gia con cái tuy đông nhưng chỉ đích thân truyền dạy cho người con lớn nhất là Diệp Uy. Những người con khác chỉ cần được chỉ điểm một vài chỗ cũng cảm thấy thỏa mãn lắm rồi chứ đừng nói đến vinh dự được lão gia truyền dạy. Nếu quả thật lão gia đồng ý truyền dạy cho thằng ngốc này, chẳng phải từ giờ trở về sau mình không bằng thằng ngốc này sao? Nghĩ thế cả bọn ngẩng đầu lên nhìn Diệp lão gia. Tất cả mọi người đều khẩn trương mở to mắt nhìn Diệp lão gia xem lão gia có đáp ứng cho Diệp không hay không. Diệp lão gia nghe những lời này, con mắt ngưng tụ lại, nhìn Diệp không từ đầu đến chân. Diệp không nói lời đó quả là ngoài ý muốn của lão, nhưng nghĩ lại nó cũng hợp tình hợp lý. Thật ra hắn cũng muốn trong Diệp gia có người kế thừa đao pháp của hắn. Hắn sợ trong đám con cái của hắn không ai có đủ tư chất sẽ bôi nhọ tên tuổi của đao pháp Diệp gia. Ủng hộ chỉ với 1 click và 5 S. Diệt Hồng Trần, chương 22, 24, lập chí. nhìn ánh mắt của cha Diệp không hoàn hồn nói thêm, phụ thân hiện tại đầu óc của hài nhi đã minh mẫn, cũng muốn có tiền đồ, hôm nay muốn được phụ thân truyền thụ võ công tương lai có thể vì phụ thân phân ưu, vì Diệp gia xuất lực, phụ thân yên tâm, hài nhi nhất định đông luyện tam trí hạ luyện tam phục, sẽ chăm chỉ học hỏi nhiều hơn, cố gắng khắc khổ, tuyệt nhiên không bao giờ bôi nhọ danh dự đao pháp của Diệp gia. Ý nghĩa đại khái là sẽ chăm chỉ khổ luyện quanh năm, không lúc nào ngưng nghỉ. Ngươi không thể yêu cầu một việc khác sao? Diệp lão gia vô tình cự tuyệt Diệp Không. Diệp Không vẫn không từ bỏ ý định, quật cường nói, phụ thân, chẳng phải phụ thân vừa nói nếu hài nhi thắng sẽ đáp ứng yêu cầu của hài nhi sao? Diệp lão gia khoát tay nói, không phải là ta nuốt lời, mà tai tư chất của ngươi quá kém, hơn nữa ngươi đã quá tuổi luyện võ, nếu sớm hơn vài năm. Diệp lão gia thoáng dừng lại rồi nói tiếp, năm nay ngươi cũng đã 12 tuổi, xương cốt đã định hình hết rồi, nếu học võ công để bảo vệ mình thì còn có thể. Đạo trong võ công một đường có chỗ phát triển thì có cố gắng đến mấy cũng khó có thể thành châu báu. Cho dù bất kể võ sư nào dạy ngươi kết quả cũng đều như thế mà thôi. Những lời này như sấm sét giữa trời quang, đánh trúng Diệp Không một phát choáng váng. Hắn vốn muốn theo võ đạo xuất đầu, hiện tại hoàn toàn không có cơ hội. Hắn biết tại Thương Nam đại lục này nếu không luyện võ thì không bao giờ nổi danh được. Diệp lão gia thấy vậy cũng an ủi, ngươi cũng không cần phải buồn bã như vậy, vì phụ thấy ngươi mồm miệng lanh lợi, đầu óc minh mẫn, chi bằng vứt võ học văn, làm một tay cẩm tú văn vẻ, tương lai khảo thi cái công danh, cũng có thể tiến dần từng bước, phụ tá quân vương làm giảm danh tổ tông. Nghe Diệp lão gia nói thế chúng đệ tử nhìn nhau thở phào nhẹ nhõm, trong mắt lộ ra thần sắc vui mừng, xem ra ai cũng không muốn bị thằng ngốc này đè ép. Bọn họ đâu biết rằng luyện võ vô vọng, Diệp Không sắp đi đến một nấc thang huy hoàng hơn, đó chính là tu tiên đại đạo. Tại võ trường, Diệp không có yêu cầu Diệp lão gia vấn đề khác. Bất quá Diệp lão gia phân phó cho quản gia tăng lên mỗi tháng 20 lượng bạc tiền tiêu hàng tháng cho hắn, không thể cho thằng đần đó cắn đến sớt ra cỏ tay của đại ca. Hắn cần phải bồi thường để chúng ta mua thuốc. Diệp Vũ quay lại phòng nghiêm giọng ngăn cản. Diệp Văn đứng bên vừa băng tay vừa nói, đúng vậy, như vậy hỗn đản quả thực quá không biết xấu hổ, rõ ràng đứng dưới lôi đài còn nói không có thua, còn cắn người, càng là vô sỉ. Diệp Vũ lại cười nhạo, thằng ngốc kia, rõ ràng còn không biết xấu hổ lại muốn tra truyền võ nghệ cho hắn. Thật sự là không biết lượng sức, cũng không rằng tư chất của mình hết sức kém cỏi. Nói đến chuyện này, Diệp Văn nở nụ cười, thằng ngốc kia tưởng thật sự là tốt đẹp, thật là tức cười, người không phát hiện cái vẻ thất vọng biểu lộ lúc đó của hắn đâu. Ha ha, Diệp Văn cười cười, làm động tới cánh tay bên trên chỗ đau. Hắn hừ lạnh một tiếng, trong mắt ánh lên sự hận thù nói, thằng đần, ta sớm muộn cũng sẽ tìm ngươi tính sổ. Lúc này mẹ của bọn hắn, Nhị Nương nói, 20 lượng bạc hay là đưa cho hắn, đừng làm cho tướng quân nổi giận. Gần đây trước mặt tướng quân các ngươi đều tỏ ra lễ phép. Ha ha, ta hôm nay thế nhưng mà thăm dò được một tin tức quan trọng. Diệp Văn cùng Diệp Vũ cảm thấy hứng thú mà hỏi, tin tức gì vậy? Chỉ thấy ba cái đầu dựa vào lại với nhau. Nhị Nương thì thầm, chỉ thấy hai huynh đệ mặt mày hớn hở, trong mắt tràn đầy vẻ hâm mộ, cho nên tới đây các ngươi chớ đi chọc thằng ngốc kia làm gì. Cứ an tâm, nghe lời đi, cứ ở nhà, mẹ cho các ngươi bồi bổ, tranh thủ cho các ngươi đều có tư chất, tốt lắm. Trong phòng Tam Nương cũng diễn ra cảnh tượng giống hệt. Diệp Long nằm ở trên giường rên hừ hừ rồi chửi bới Diệp Không. Mẫu thân, cái thằng Diệp Không kia thật sự là đáng giận, người nên báo thù cho con. Diệp Hổ cũng là nghiến răng nghiến lợi nói, đúng vậy, mẫu thân phải báo thù cho ca ca. Thằng ngu kia hiện tại đã trở nên xảo trá ngoan độc, rõ ràng phụ thân đều không có trách phạt hắn, thật sự là đáng giận. Tam Nương cũng là người tập võ, tính tình so Nhị Nương thì hào sảng hơn chút ít mắng. Đồ vô dụng, chính mình đánh không lại, lại để cho một nữ nhân như ta ra mặt, như vậy thì các ngươi làm nên trò trống gì? Diệp Long kêu rên nói, mẫu thân, không phải con đánh không lại, là hắn sử dụng gian kế phạm quy. Tam Nương lại nói, nghe các ngươi nói thì thấy rõ Diệp không ngốc rồi, còn rất xảo trá ngoan độc, cho nên các ngươi nên thân thiện với hắn. Tam Nương quan sát tình hình của nhi tử lại thấp giọng nói, các ngươi phải nên động não, thằng ngốc kia tuy đã thông minh, thế nhưng lại đắc tội Nhị Nương, tóm lại cứ để cho bọn hắn đấu đá với nhau. Các ngươi có hiểu không? Cái con mụ xú yêu phụ kia cũng muốn được tướng công yêu thích, cho nên chỉ cần Nhị Nương kia bị lật thuyền thì mẫu thân này chẳng phải sẽ làm chủ nội viện sao? Hai nhi tử giờ mới hiểu được, liền vội vàng gật đầu khen, a hát, biện pháp của mẫu thân rất hay. Tam Nương đắc ý cười cười, có nhỏ giọng nói, hôm nay mẫu thân thăm dò được một tin tức quan trọng. Diệp Không đều không biết mình như thế nào mà Diệp lão gia lại từ chối. Hắn đã bị lão cho một phen đả kích e rằng lệch tư tưởng rồi. Học võ không có tiền đồ, nói cách khác mong ước của hắn tại Thương Nam đại lục muốn diễu võ dương oai, thúc ngựa dơ roi, đã thành bọt nước, vứt bỏ võ theo văn, là một tay cẩm tú văn vẻ. Cái này lại càng là vô nghĩa. Đừng nhìn hắn trong suốt trận đấu nói đạo lý rõ ràng, kỳ thật hắn là người không thích học tập, bằng không hồi còn ở địa cầu hắn còn chưa học hết cấp 2 mà lại bỏ học. Hắn cảm thấy trước mắt trống rỗng, tuyệt vọng cực độ, bất quá trở lại nhà mình, nhìn xem lão nương đang tha thiết chờ mong, hắn đành phải cố gắng nét mặt tươi cười, tùy ý ứng phó. Diệp Không trong lòng chán nản, sáng sớm cũng không có khí thế hăng hái, mang theo một thân thương thế, trả lời đối phó với mẫu thân vài ba câu qua loa. Ăn một ít cơm trưa, rồi chui vào trong phòng mình ngẩn người ra. Buổi chiều, quản gia Diệp Tài tới, đem cái quyết định bổ sung ngân lượng báo cho Trần Cửu Mẫu biết. Thế nhưng Diệp Không cũng không có đi ra. Tuy nhiên nhị nương, tam nương đều vì tin tức bí mật kia mà tạm thời yên tĩnh. Có thể do Diệp Không thật sự là bị Diệp lão gia đả kích. Trong nội tâm lúc này uể oải thế nào không cần nói thêm nữa, cũng không có tâm tư tranh đấu với người khác, chỉ suốt ngày ngây người trốn ở gian phòng giống người mất trí. Trần Cửu Mẫu nhìn thấy nhi tử của mình như vậy, nhưng cũng không dám quấy rầy. Đã đến chạng vạng, Trần Cửu Mẫu gọi hắn ra ăn cơm tối, Diệp Không vẫn không có đi ra ngoài. Trần Cửu Mẫu cũng không dám quấy rầy nhi tử, đành tự mình mang theo thau cơm đi lấy cơm. Phụ trách phòng ăn là một nữ nhân béo mập, tuy xấu nhưng nàng rất thẳng thắn, một mực vẫn hận Diệp tướng quân không coi trọng mình, mà ngay cả Trần Cửu nương xấu như vậy mà vẫn cho tướng quân một hài tử. Thế nên nàng tự nhiên đối với Trần Cửu Mẫu tuyệt đối không khách khí. Trần Cửu Mẫu thấp giọng nói, cho nhiều một tí nha, Không nhi của nhà ta hôm nay lại bị thương, muốn ăn nhiều một tí đấy. Nữ nhân béo hừ một tiếng châm chọc nói, thì đã sao, nhi tử ngươi được khôi phục sự sủng ái rồi hả? Đã nghĩ là có thể cưỡi trên đầu chúng ta sao? Trần Cửu Mẫu không để ý, con mắt chăm chú nhìn vào bên trong chậu thịt kho tàu nói, không đúng, Mã tỷ, ta chính là muốn bồi bổ cho nhi tử mà thôi. Mã tỷ liếc qua cười lạnh nói, ăn nhiều bánh bao bổ não đấy, rồi thò tay theo trong chậu lấy mấy cái bánh bao lạnh ném tới. Trần Cửu muốn nói thêm mấy câu, nhưng cuối cùng vẫn là cầm cơm cùng bánh bao đi ra. Còn có thể như thế nào đây? Những người này đều là quản sự đấy, đều không thể trêu vào. Đừng xem bọn hắn là hạ nhân, ai cũng có thể là họ hàng thân thuộc với các phụ nhân trong nhà đấy. Mã tỷ là đồng hương của Cửu phu nhân, rất được Cửu phu nhân sủng ái. Cho dù bẩm báo tướng quân thì chẳng lẽ mang bộ dáng xấu xí của mình đi sao? Trở lại tiểu viện, đem mấy cái bánh bao lạnh trở về, gõ cửa phòng nhi tử, đặt thức ăn lên bàn. Diệp Không suy tư cả buổi chiều, càng nghĩ càng buồn rầu. Học cái võ công tự bảo vệ mình có thể, muốn tại võ đạo để phát triển tương lai là tuyệt đối không thể. Cho dù trả giá nhiều hơn nữa, cố gắng hơn nữa, cũng khó thành châu báu. Hai câu nói này đã đạp tắt hy vọng của Diệp Không. Hắn cảm thấy thất vọng, uể oải, nản lòng thoái chí. Ở đây so với địa cầu còn kém xa. Hắn đã không muốn tiếp tục ở chỗ cái đại lục này nữa. Hắn bắt đầu tìm cách quay về, bất quá tại đây không có gì Triệu cô nương cho hắn một trường. Hắn nói thầm, có phải hay không khi chết liền có thể xuyên việt qua thế giới này? Nếu không, ta thử tự sát một phát nhỉ, chết cũng muốn làm ma đói. Xem xét đồ ăn, cơm trắng nóng hổi, nhìn lại bên trên đồ ăn, là thức ăn cùng loại với rau cỏ màu xanh xanh, mặc dù không có thịt, ăn vào cũng thấy ngon miệng, có thể ăn lấy ăn để. Đột nhiên hắn nghĩ đến một cái gì đó, Diệp Không thả chiếc đũa trong tay ra, mở cửa ra khỏi phòng. Giờ phút này ánh trăng đã treo cao, có thể bầu trời còn chưa tối, thế cho nên ánh trăng mang theo ánh sáng màu đỏ đỏ. Ở trên địa cầu hắn chưa bao giờ nhìn thấy khung cảnh mỹ lệ đến thế. Đáng tiếc chính mình còn không được ở lại bao lâu để thưởng thức. Diệp Không cảm thán rồi đẩy của gian phòng của Trần Cửu Mẫu bước vào. Không nhi, Trần Cửu Mẫu càng hoảng sợ, vô ý cầm cái bánh bao lạnh trong tay hướng về phía hắn. Con mắt Diệp Không thoáng chút trợn tròn, hắn vào trong này là bởi vì hắn đoán được lão nương nhất định là đang ăn tối, cho nên muốn vào để mời lão nương ra ngoài cùng hắn ăn những món ăn kia. Nhưng ai biết lão nương thậm chí ngay cả cơm trắng đều không có, trốn ở trong phòng để gặm bánh bao lạnh. Diệp Không lửa giận ngút trời nói, mẫu thân, sao mẫu thân lại ăn cái này? Không có việc gì, mẫu thân thích ăn bánh bao. Trần Cửu Mẫu dường như sợ nhi tử không tin, lại dùng sức gặm mấy miếng bánh bao. Có thể là do đã để gách đêm cho nên bánh bao sớm đã cứng lại, không nuốt được, nước mắt nàng liền trào ra. Tuy đây không phải là mẫu thân của hắn, chưa nói đến tình cảm, trông thấy cảnh tượng này Diệp Không không thể nhịn nổi. Diệp Không quay đầu lại định đi, tiên sư cái thằng đầu bếp, lão tử đi chém chết bọn hắn. Không được, Không nhi, mẫu thân không sao, con cũng đừng đi gây chuyện, chỉ cần con hiếu thảo thế là đủ rồi. Trần Cửu Mẫu nhào tới ôm cổ nhi tử, dưng cầu khẩn nói, mẫu thân biết con đang không vui, thế nhưng mà Không nhi, con mới 12 tuổi, con đấu sao lại bọn chúng? Mẫu thân hiện tại lo lắng nhất là con, mẫu thân ăn khan uống khổ cũng có thể, nếu như con có chuyện không hay xảy ra, mẫu thân làm thế nào sống được nữa đây? Trần Cửu Mẫu nói xong, nước mắt đã rơi như mưa. Diệp Không mới vừa rồi còn nghĩ đến tự sát để trở về địa cầu.